Hello everybody and welcome to today's video where we will be breaking down the technique of the GB Men's, there they go, GB Men's 4 of 2014. This is probably one of my most watched world rowing racing videos because this crew is just so good, was just so good in my opinion. The way they rowed, how they raced, just their technique for me it was just so good to watch. It was just entertaining and such a great example of crew rowing. I'll be breaking down what I think they do well, and as always, doing it in a way that hopefully you'll be able to understand it, so that you can implement it into your rowing, whether you're in a single scull or you're in a coxless four like this. But yeah, I used to watch this race frequently and visualize myself rowing like this. But anyways, to the kind of first points here, off the start, the things I think that they're doing well. Oh yeah, and for those that are new here, my name's Jack Burns. I'm the founder of Hedge Rowing, where we work with busy professionals getting them rowing to the best versions of themselves. I always forget to introduce myself because I always forget there's new viewers watching. Anyways, the first thing that I think they all do well, I normally like to start looking at the finish, and they all tap down. This is something I talk about quite a lot, but they all tap down a decent amount, so they get decent clearance with their blade over the water when they pop the spoon out. So there's a good sort of like gradual or kind of significant tap down with the hands. This keeps their hands low, which allows them to then square early enough so that they have a bit of time here where they're not at the catch, but they've maybe got a few inches where they can slide forward, where they're all still in the upper body, and all they need to do is just let the weight of the handle get sucked into the boat. And if you're wanting to look at catches, I think one of the nicest catches I've ever seen was Alex Gregory's, in all of world rowing, if you ask me, and in a hard seat to do it in a bow seat. So those would be the first kind of couple things, but most of their rhythm, most of their success, in my opinion, comes from how they drive and how they hang. But it of course is all linked. But for their timing, for their tap down, that's what sets them up to then square the blade nicely. And you can see here, Alex Gregory, he does this the best. You can see he taps down. He's the furthest into the water here, but he still has the biggest tap down, and he still gets the most amount of clearance. You can't quite see it in that shot. He still gets the most amount of clearance with his spoon, which allows him to then square early and go in really, really still and really, really loose. And you can compare Alex Gregory's catch to Andy Triggs Hodge's catch. And again, bow seat, your job is to get the catch in a little bit earlier than stroke seat. But while he's also earlier, Alex Gregory is also earlier, he's also placing in a better way. And we'll try and get a better shot here of where we can see that. Yeah, there we go. So Alex Gregory, basically, this is a good shot. You can see because he's squared early, he's prepared earlier, he's got a bit more, his hands are a bit lower than Andy Triggs Hodges. He's able to be more still and be more, do less as he gets to the catch. Andy Triggs Hodge, he kind of comes into the catch with his hands and he has to dip right before he puts the blade in and then lift the hands up. Whereas Alex Gregory, because he's had his hands low, all he has to do is lift his hands up. And you can see just approaching the catch here, it's maybe not every stroke, but this stroke here compared to this one. And this is something, the thing Alex Gregory did. I'm sorry about clearing my throat into the mic, by the way. I know that's probably annoying for you, but it's what I do. Alex Gregory, he carries the blade. He squares early, and what he does well that sets him up is he carries the blade so close to the water as he gets to the catch, and he does it so skillfully that when he's at the catch, it's so easy for him to have a quick catch because he's basically already there. Like, all he needs to just do is get here and then lift and let the blade fall in. And you can see there's just that really nice brief moment where it looks like it's in slow motion. Well, it obviously is in slow motion, but you can just see it, that catch, there, so still and so loose. And it's something when I would watch these videos, I would imagine myself getting squared. And I would imagine as I was rowing, once I was squared, that's the key. Don't do this when you're feathered. Once you're squared, play around with how close, or, if you're in a sweet boat, how close that blade can be to the water as you're approaching the catch. And again, it was really helpful for me. I would just imagine, I'd be rowing like Alex Gregory. He actually came on when I was going into the GB team. He came on for like a mentoring call, and that was my question for him, was how he improved the catch. And I was hoping for a more kind of like detailed breakdown, but he did say that he spent a lot of time working on it. So the catch is the most important thing. Anyways, the second thing Alex Gregory does is he's very, very patient. So if you look at the amount of time that he is sat here, he's fully stretched out, fully reaching. And it's only until kind of there that he's starting to push. And again, he's connected. That spoon is locked in there. And his shins are pretty much perpendicular to the boat. He's pretty much at full slide and super locked in, which is so hard to do. Andy Triggs Hodge, you can see, I'm not trying to like criticize him, but you can see the differences in the catch. Like Andy Triggs Hodge, he kind of came in. Andy Triggs Hodge, his blade was here, and he kind of came in with the blade in that direction. So now he's here. And because he's kind of came in this direction, he's got a bit of kind of water on the front of the spoon here. You can see, this is a good example actually. But you can see there's a bit more of a bulge on the front of the spoon. Whereas Alex Gregory, he's gone from here straight up with the hands. And then the blade's gone straight down. And he's gotten a much better lock. He's not got that surge of water. And when you get this kind of surplus, you can see there's kind of like a deficit here. And there's like a surplus here. It's a sign that you've came in and rode the blade in a little bit, which means you've pushed before you're connected, which means you kick on the stern a little bit before you're pushed. Whereas Alex Gregory, he gets the hands locked up and the spoon gets loaded before he pushes. So it's kind of like, this is a common example, but you think about it like, when you're rowing, there's maybe like a pin here, or like a pole in the water, and everybody has like a target pole that they need to hit. Imagine there's like a kind of steel rod in the water, and you want to get to the catch. I don't know if this drawing is going to like line up. Yeah. You get to the catch and you just want to hook that blade in so that it's touching against the pole and no more. And if you kind of come in with the blade in that direction, while the pole is right underneath you, you're going to miss it. So again, that's just another analogy. I don't know if that's helpful. Let me know if it's helpful, but always great to hear. I like to throw a lot of analogies out there. So it's always good to hear, like when we're coaching, we always want to understand what is useful. So please let me know in the comments, or feel free to not and just keep watching. But anyways, that would be the big thing. This whole crew. Okay, I know I'm blowing a lot of smoke up Alex Gregory's ass here, but this whole crew does this really, really well. Especially, and I really like the way that Mo Sabihi and George Nash do this as well. You can see super, super long, and they get super connected. And this crew as well, they would rate like 34, 35. And nowadays, it's very in trend to just brag about how you rated 42 the whole way, when in reality you were rowing half slide and you weren't connected at all. These guys full slide, in my opinion, one of the best fours of all time, and just super, super connected and long and powerful. This is the way Jurgen Grobler used to really love. I think actually, this is right. So this crew, I think they're maybe in training, they weren't going as fast as they wanted to. And in this race, I think Jurgen Grobler, I could be getting this wrong. Alan will correct me, I'm sure, but they would just rate 34 Or no, sorry, they were rating too high. And then Jurgen Grobler said, right, for this race, you guys are rowing like idiots. You're capped at rate 34. You cannot go higher than 34. And they rowed like this. And again, it's just such a good race to watch. But anyways, hopefully that covers it for the catch. If it's not obvious as well, the timing is just really, really good. But anyways, moving on from the catch, what they do well is they are so loose in the bodies, and they really, really hang and push through the foot plate. There's no tension in the shoulders. They're not loading up high. They're staying loose in the upper body. Especially Alex Gregory, he does this the best. He's technically the best one in this crew. And it just allows them to really, really push and apply force. And if you look at their knees, they're all kind of coming through the leg drive in the same sort of angle. And they hang, they come through here, and all of their weight, if you think about it like there's a body weight scale on each of their seats, when you drive, when people talk about suspension, this is the idea that when you push with your feet, your weight is hanging through the oar, and it's locked into the water here, and then it's suspended all the way through the foot plate. And when you do this right, your weight comes out of the boat. And if you want to think about it like your scale, if there was a scale here, your scale would read like 0 or read like 0.1 or whatever. So again, something you can think about. And what they do is a lot of crews can suspend, but they can't suspend for very long. And what these guys are doing, they're coming through they're extended all the way here. But they are still hanging and they're still suspended through the body. You can tell that their body weight is leaning on it. They're pressing through the feet. They're hanging all the way. And this is also combined with the fact that they are very, very patient when they drive. They're very, very powerful, but they're not rushing. It's kind of like they're driving and they're taking time to push. So a way you can think about this is you want to feel. You don't necessarily want to apply force as hard as you can, but you just want to feel and press and feel through the foot plate and kind of keep that feeling there and that connection all the way through. And it's not just like you drop your weight down into the seat and you kind of tug, you open your back, flick your back open and tug through. It's like you open your back and you press, and even as you're coming through here, you're still feeling the feet and you're still hanging. Another way you can think about this, if you like this stuff, I'm going into a lot of detail here. Where the fuck is the mouse? Where'd my mouse go? What's going on? So when the more force that you apply, the more suspended you are. So when you're in this position here, you're not actually applying that much force. Part of the reason is the angle of the oar. The other part of the reason is the kind of compressed position. Your knees are bent, your hip is rocked over like this. Think about it like you're in a leg press, and when you're contracted like this, it's really hard to apply force. So combined with the fact the angle is like this, you're not that connected. And when you drive, only a little bit of the boat lifts out the water. But as you come through the middle part of the stroke, as you open up with the legs, you get into a stronger angle here. And as the oar comes through the work, through the midpoint, you can get more of your weight suspended. And as a result, more of the boat comes out of the water. Now, what crews will make the mistake of doing is as they come through the finish here, they think, right, rowing's a leg sport. You don't need to pull with your arms. You don't need to open your back. Yes, you do. You still need to press through your arms, press through your back. You want to maintain connection, because as you're maintaining connection through here, you're gradually returning the boat down to level. So while it's less force, okay, I'm going to make up a formula here. Suspension. So think about it like suspension equals force. So, which is basically force equals mass times acceleration is the way you can think about it, which is effectively what they're doing. But suspension is just another way of accelerating your mass. But as you come through this part of the stroke in here, it's harder to apply force because it's just obviously with your arms and you've already got so much acceleration on the boat. It's hard to add force to it. And again, you're in a position here where you can't apply that much force with the arms compared to like when you're halfway down with the legs, but you still want to be pushing through the foot plate because you're gradually returning this suspension. You're bringing your suspension down, which basically what it does is it like cradles the boat back down to the water. But if you get to this point here and you just stop suspending entirely, what happens is if you think about going from the middle of the drive, if you think about here, and like let's just make up a metric for this. When they go through here, they are 100% suspended. Just make that up. Just imagine that this is 100% suspension. If you get through to here, and you then go to 0%, suspension, what happens is the boat goes from being 100% suspended to 0% suspended, and it just drops the boat into the water. And what happens is you create that hull that goes down like that. And water resistance comes from that friction of the water moving up and down the hull and across the hull. So when you get water moving up and down the hull, it creates more water resistance and slows you down. It also feels like shit and makes your rowing a lot harder. So when you've got a nice flat running boat, it just feels so much better. And a big part of having a flat running boat is how you maintain, I've lost the mouse again, is how you maintain connection all the way through the stroke into the finish. And you don't want to just get to here, stop suspending through the feet, just stop it, and then boom, the boat goes down. You kind of want to hold it. And it's kind of like you're returning a baby, into a baby bed. What are those things called? The cradle. You wouldn't just drop it in. Well, I hope not. But anyways, that is a big part of what they do well. And they do this as a crew. All four of them suspend and drive and hang as a crew. And it just creates such a good rhythm. And anytime I used to go into new crew boats or when we're coaching crew boats, we say, get that suspension, get that hang together. It's a really good point where you can feel that acceleration. And I know I was talking at the start about the recovery and everything, but for these guys, what they do really, really well is how they suspend. And just look at how simple that is. Look at how there's little movement going on. Look at how you can see how Andy Triggs Hodge here, how loose he is when he takes the blade out. You can see that, like, this is one thing when I was racing I would look for, is this kind of nice feeling of the oar, like, clicking out onto the feather. For the eagle-eyed amongst you, you notice Andy Triggs Hodge has a gate on the outside of the oar as well, because apparently he would pull the oar in, and Jurgen Grobler used to hate it, but he just relied on it. But they try to hide it with the kind of light green thing here. But anyways, one thing they do, you can see nicely that Andy Triggs Hodge is doing here, is he turns the blade feathered, and you can see there that there's that nice sort of like click. And when I was racing, two things I would focus on is feeling the click when I would come through here. I don't know if you can hear me. I realize that when I do this, you can't hear me as well. But feeling the click when I'd come through there, and that to me would just be a sign I'd take the blades out cleanly, and I'd also do it loosely. And then I'd also look to feel the click on the way forward. And if I got the click on the way forward, it meant I was loose going forward. It also meant I was squared going forward as well. Anyways, let's get into some critical stuff. So what I think Hodgie, he doesn't, so Andy, that's his nickname. I don't know him. I'm not on like a first name basis with him, but it's easier than saying Andy Triggs Hodge. But anyways, he rows relatively compressed. So that's, you could say it's a good thing. You could say that's a bad thing. But it obviously is like working. I think that's definitely something crews get wrong, is they try and row too long sometimes. But yeah, Hodgie, he stays, relatively, he at least looks, compared to the rest of the crew, relatively short. And compared to everybody else, I think he looks more tense in the shoulders. But I mean, other intangibles he brings is just years of experience. And from what I've heard about him, he was just a really, really good leader in crew boats. George Nash, really, really nice loose here, but it's kind of, he always did this like weird thing where his angle coming in right before he would drive would like change, and then he was connected here, and you could see he like recorrects his angle here where he's like really reaching for it. Really rocked over here, shoulders way in front of the hips. But then when he drives, he kind of like corrects it and then comes into quite more of an upper body position. So if I was coaching him, I would have said to just keep that position going in, but that's just me. Mo Sabihi, really long and really powerful. If you guys want to know the erg scores as well, I think Hodgie was around 547. George Nash, he was around 551 or something. Mo Sabihi did sub 540, I think. Alex Gregory was around 550 or 552. But yeah, Mo Sabihi, he rode with too much tension in the upper body, if you ask me. And towards the end of his career, I think he rode with more and more tension. But in this crew here, he still manages to hang and apply power quite well. But yeah, I mean, there's just a couple of kind of like signature things. I don't think Mo Sabihi suspends with his hips that well. He looks like he keeps his weight kind of on the seat until he's about like there. And then Alex Gregory, in my opinion, he was pretty good. He didn't really have too much of a back end. He wouldn't add too much acceleration here. He wouldn't really open too much with the hips. See, the rest of the crew, they would open a bit more. He was maybe a bit more upright. But who knows, a lot of the time the crew, they find the best way to do things and they stick with it. But yeah, really, really good crew. This race as well, Agbalat 2014 World Cup. Just go and watch some of these races. The shots in them are so good. I guess World Rowing doesn't have the budget for it because I'm guessing it was expensive to run this. But apparently you can just drink this water as well. You can just reach out and slurp it up after your race. So yeah, this is one of my favorite shots here. You can see just really nice. That blade, again, you can just see approaches really nicely. Gets really nice blade entry. Boom. Nice. Be cool if they did another World Cup here, but who knows why. Anyways, okay, right. If you found this video useful, like it, comment if you have any thoughts, any questions, if you disagree with me. And yeah, subscribe for more. Cheers.